Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Party Chat, our community Q&A, which happens each and every week. It's our bonus exclusive podcast. If you support us with that $5 feed, you get access to this sucker. And what this sucker is all about is taking questions from people at the MinnMax Council tier. Everybody at that $20 tier on Patreon, they can call in each and every week and podcast with us directly, or just submit a question, which we guarantee have to answer. So if you have a burning question that never gets answered on the MinnMax Show podcast for whatever reason, you can always submit it by joining the MinnMax Council tier. I'm Ben Hansen, and thank God I'm not alone today, because I'm also joined by one Jacob Geller, everybody.
That's me.
All right, Uncharted Wolf, sorry to keep you hanging for so long. What's happening, Uncharted Wolf?
I actually wanted to talk about a game, if that's okay, Jacob.
You're allowed.
I'm a huge fanboy of you, Jacob. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
What's it called? I want to talk about Callisto Protocol.
Oh, yeah. You've been playing?
I've been playing.
I'm about 5.5 hours in. And I think a lot of the criticisms are definitely that were levied against it are very fair. I think the dodge mechanic is absolutely horrendous and needs to be changed instantly. But I think other than that, I do really like the game. I think my two biggest things are just the dodge mechanic, and I don't really think the game's too scary. It feels a lot like a 360 era horror game, which I'm a big fan of, but it's very stuck in its way. It's not really a modern Dead Space like a lot of people were hoping for. But I do also want to give a quick shout out. Its audio design is impeccable, and I think it's a pretty good game, all things considered.
Oh, that's nice. It's interesting to say, it's like a 360 game, because, we just did the deepest dive on Dead Space not too long ago, and that game holds up remarkably well. But it just feels like a 360 era survival horror game that isn't Dead Space. Is that the basic idea?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I think it has a lot of Dead Space inspirations. I also recently played through Dead Space a few months ago. Not for the deepest dive, I'm so sorry. But it was one of those games where I'm like, okay, this is really good. And I think it kind of loses its scare factor by the second half. That was my biggest problem with Dead Space.
Sure.
And with Callisto Protocol, I don't think it's scary from the get-go. There was only a few moments that made me jump a little, but they felt more like jump scare moments than anything else, than actually scary sequences. But I think overall, 360 era horror game is not really an insult when it comes to me, because I love that era of video games.
Sure.
But I also think if you went into this going okay, modern Dead Space, you're not getting that. Wait for the remake.
Yeah. What do you think, Jacob Geller?
Yeah, it's weird that it got kind of hit with a bunch of negative reviews, because it is I think it's very competent,
Okay.
it really, and look, I'm like Sarah talking about Sonic Frontiers, but it's
playable.
It is a very good looking game. The sound design is great. I think the world, at least the world is super cohesive feeling, in the same way that Dead Space, you were this could be a real place, it that kind of feels the same here. I agree about the dodge mechanic, and it's just really hard. And the checkpoints are really bad. It's I like hard games, but it's hard in a not fun way. And so I am playing on easy, because it seems to require you to understand this dodge mechanic that is just kind of, I just don't.
What's happening? What is this dodge mechanic? What's going on there?
It's like Punch Out. It's when an enemy comes up to you, you can lean left or right or block, and they're swinging at you. And there's a lot of melee combat, and you don't want to be shooting everyone because you have limited ammo. But it's just unlike Punch Out, it's really not clear what direction you should be dodging in at any given time.
I can explain that part. It doesn't really matter which direction you dodge in for any attack, as long as you don't dodge in the same direction of a flurry. But the thing is, the dodge mechanic isn't reactionary. You have to be dodging before they even attack, which is what my problem with it.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why I'm messing it up.
That seems absurd.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know why it's like that. I feel like I heard Glenn Schofield say that he's played FromSoft games before, so I don't know why he doesn't just go and copy that.
I'm sure he's dabbled, yeah. So, Jacob Geller, it's disappointing, but not the the 5s and 6s that you're seeing out there? Is that the high level take?
It's hard to say. I mean, honestly, the most damning thing is that like I am just not playing the game. You know, like I played a few hours yesterday, and then I went back to Midnight Suns. And it's not what it doesn't have. It's hard to like pin down, but like I'm not really excited to keep going. The place that the game feels pretty monotonous, just in that like in Dead Space you would be in like pretty different places in the spaceship, and they all felt like, oh, now I'm here and I'm gonna go here, and it like feels completely different, and that could happen, but so far with what I've played, it's just kind of like I'm in a space prison and I keep being there, and so it's just kind of like the same enemies in the same space station. And I don't quite like, there's not really like a gameplay hook pulling me forward, and the story is not really strong enough to make up for that.
Yeah. How relieved? How relieved do you think that team at EA is? EA Motive making that Dead Space remake. The fact that this game came out to like 7s overall must just be like this huge woof. Okay.
Yeah, though I don't know. I mean, because it's like a lot of the reviews are like, boy, this game feels like a, you know, it hasn't moved forward since Dead Space, and so like I don't know how much they're changing Dead Space.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
What your comment about like area variety, and I'll be quick about this.
Sure.
I think later on it's a lot better. I'm like around the halfway point, I would say. And I've definitely I went through an area yesterday that I thought was like really interesting and like well done, especially with the enemies. But even then, there's a lot of stuff like you can stealth certain enemies in a way where it's like you stealth one and the other one can be like literally touching that enemy and they don't notice you. And I'm like, okay, this is 360 era design of stealth. What is going on here? But I think overall, I mean, the game's fine. I think it's getting a little overblown with the reviews, but a lot of valid criticisms.
Okay, so not one that we really need to worry about scrambling to play before the Game of the Year discussions.
No, I mean, but it's like, you should play it just because it's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like it's going to, maybe its legacy will be one of those, like, 7 out of 10 curios that it's like, you know, there's stuff to talk about with this game, even if it's not. And, like, Kotaku gave it a really good review. So I think it's, like, it hasn't got, there are people who have, like, really liked it. And I think that's interesting on its own.
Yeah, it's interesting just from my vantage point, just seeing where they're spending their money and, you know, following Let's Go Field on Twitter and whatnot. And, you know, they paid for a big partnership with Kind of Funny for them to stream it and all that fun stuff. But then also, like, they have a huge 3D billboard at Times Square. And then also, one in, like, Canada or some other location as well. It's like they are spending the money on this. Some PUBG money's going into promoting the hell out of this thing.
Yeah, but they also sure did not send out, like, preview copies, which maybe was just a strategy and not, you know, but it's like, I had a lot of people in my kind of game networks who were just like, I was going to talk about this game, and they have not sent me anything.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a whole different world. Who knows how tough it is to get codes, but, yeah, talking to the PR person over there, tried many times to get codes, and they're like, we can give you one. It's like, okay, we'll take it. We'd like to have a larger discussion about it, but sure. So, yeah, you never know what is just... There's 1,000 different reasons for that, but it could be that idea of like, well, maybe it's not coming in so hot, so maybe for a little bit on the stingier end of things, it's not the worst idea compared to, you know, something like Mario and Rabbids with like, please take it. It's an awesome game. Please help spread the word for the love of God. Uncharted Wolf, thank you for your support. Nice to have you on Party Chat, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Subscribe to Jacob Geller.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Hey, look at that. All right, that's it for this episode of Party Chat. I guess we didn't really run down exactly what's happening this week at MinnMax, but we should let everybody know that the MinnMax Show podcast is a little bit delayed because the Game Awards are happening on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Central. So Sarah and Leo and I are going to be streaming our reactions from the studio for the Game Awards. So please look forward to that. It'll be streaming on MinnMax's YouTube channel. Should be a fun time. Genuinely, I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Then we're going to be streaming a live episode of the MinnMax show on Friday, probably Friday morning. I don't know the exact time yet, so we can talk about the big reveals and all that stuff from the Game Awards, just so y'all know. Let's see, we're going to have a big meeting to break down exactly the schedule for all of our Game of the Year debates and all that stuff. So that'll be happening tomorrow, but that's not really a live stream type thing. That's just for us. Also, if you really want to go behind the scenes, but that's what Party Chat's all about, I'm going to be going on a work trip. So I'm going to be out on Tuesday and most of Wednesday as well. And so New Show Plus, I won't be on. And then also Better Together, which is Tuesday's show for the evening, I won't be on as well. So I'm curious to see how that breaks down, if it's going to be a new episode of We Spore. I know Leo for New Show Plus also wanted to put in the poll for Backstage Pass supporters, him giving a big funeral procession for Fuser, since Harmonix's Fuser is going offline. So there should be some fun options for everybody there for New Show Plus regardless. But I think that's it for this episode of Party Chat. If you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube, you can unlock Party Chat each and every week in your favorite podcast feed. It's jumping right in there if you support MinnMax on Patreon at the $5 tier. $5 tier, you unlock the podcast version of The Deepest Dive. You get the ad-free early version of the MinnMax show, all of our interviews, Max spoilers, a ton of bonus content, including this bonus podcast each and every week. Just right in your favorite app. It's a lot easier than you think. It's right there. But Jacob Geller, thank you for joining, sir.
Hey, my pleasure.
This was a clip from Party Chat, our Patreon exclusive podcast that airs every single Monday. The podcast features cohorts and friends of the show, contributors, talking directly to the MinnMax community. So if you're looking for even more podcasts from MinnMax, this is the place to go. Just head to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, support us at the $5 tier, and you can listen to Party Chat every single week. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate it.